Week 14 Sunday NFL breakdowns, everything you need to know in 15 minutes. If you've never been here before, welcome. My name is Max. I make these for every primetime game, as well as every game on Sunday, to give you a unique edge, looking at run scheme metrics, coverage data, and overall trends nobody really talks about because it relates to the scheme behind the game instead of just the numbers you see on the screen. Without further ado, let's get into these breakdowns. As always, in the descriptions are links to my socials, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. If you are not following all three, you're missing out on additional information. Let's talk about Atlanta, Seattle. In this game, Seattle's heavy favorites. I do think they win this football game, but two important stats to note. In the last 5 weeks, Atlanta is allowing the most pass yards per game to opposing quarterbacks. They're not even top 5 in attempts allowed. And when you look at Sam Darnold and really how he's played as of late, to me, this is the ultimate get right spot for him, right? Like, he had 244 and 2 touchdowns against the Tennessee defense that, he probably should have preyed on a little bit more than he did. He threw 4 picks against the Rams, right? He also didn't have 200 yards the week prior, and as well as last week against Minnesota. Like, there has been a decline in Sam Darnold's play for factors that may not all be on him, but there has been a decline, and this, to me, is the ultimate get-right game for him at home against a defense that's really been struggling. But the second thing, and we've talked about this with Seattle all season long, if you've missed any of those videos, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any more. But they're extremely heavy in zone coverage, right? They allow a ton of running back receptions, a good amount of tight end receptions as well, but a ton of running back receptions, the second most per game. And Bijan Robinson has been a staple in the pass game, but especially without Drake London, he's leaned on a little bit more. I really like Bijan in this game receiving. Let's talk Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. On Pittsburgh's side, it's very interesting because they're all over the place offensively. The fire Tomlin chants are everywhere. Like, this is a Pittsburgh team that seems to be reeling. To me, I want to say they're a touchdown dog. This is the spot it gets so ugly that you just got to think Pittsburgh's going to win or at least keep it close. However, it is important to note that Pittsburgh is allowing the most wide receiver yards and wide receiver receptions per game holistically. It's pretty bad, right? Their secondary has been bad all year. Now, they are getting a little bit better. They're making changes in the secondary as well. Asante Samuel's up now. No more Darius Slay. Like, they're actively trying to figure it out. And when you look at this for Baltimore, you think Zay Flowers, and it's a good matchup, but the reality is the Steelers are targeted out wide really heavily. That's not where Zay Flowers runs most of his routes from, and honestly, not where Lamar throws the ball a bunch. This defense, to me, is really susceptible to outside wide receivers. You go look at some of the bigger ex-wide receivers who have had better games against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They all have something in common. It's the fact that they are just that. They are bigger, outside wide receivers. Here we go. Wide receivers down here. Guys like scroll back up here. Lad McConkey, a slot guy who had a better game. But you go look at Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, Christian Watson, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins a few weeks ago, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, guys like that who are dominant out wide guys have had better games, whereas the inside guys like Rome Odunze's everywhere, but he still had 9 targets. You look at Jamar Chase, even here, had 30 yards. This speaks to the Steelers getting better, but it also speaks to them being more susceptible to guys on the outside. That's why I look at D-Hop, Rashad Bateman, guys like that to make more of an impact in this game than the guys between the slots. Between the hashes in the slot. Zay's going to get his. Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, they're all going to get theirs, but I'm looking at D-Hop and Bateman to make bigger impacts in this game. And I know I just talked about Pittsburgh keeping this thing close. I do think Baltimore wins it. Tennessee versus Cleveland. Tennessee's a bottom 10 run defense. I'm looking at Quinshon Judkins in this game. 16 plus carries in 4 straight. And Dylan Sampson, another DNP, does not seem like he's playing. Now, not officially ruled out just yet. We wait right before kickoff to figure that stuff out, but does not seem like Dylan Sampson's playing. If that happens, you lean more on Judkins. The Titans are also bottom 10 in tight end target rate. You go look at the past performances against the Tennessee Titans, and it's exactly what we just talked about. It's running backs who have great games, and it's tight ends who have explosive ability. Now, it's not wild volume stats for tight ends against Tennessee Titans, but the explosive ability is absolutely there, right? 15 yards a catch for Bretton Strange and a touchdown. Seattle doesn't really use their tight ends. Oronde Gadsden, 5 for almost 70. Tyler Warren only had 4 catches, but 53 yards. The explosive ability for tight ends is there against the Titans, and then you look at running back production. The Jaguars didn't really do much on the ground, but Kenneth Walker has a solid game. Jonathan Taylor has 153. Ramondre Stevenson had 88. Like, the production should be there for offenses that commit to running the football. It's going to take a lot of attempts in terms of efficiency numbers. Tennessee's not that bad, but they're bottom 10 in yards per game. That's the most important thing in the game where I think it's going to be close. Cleveland right now, I have 3.5-point favorites. I really like the Browns to just win this game, but to me, it's going to have to be the Judkins show. It's going to have to be leaning into the run game, probably more than it's been. Indianapolis versus Jacksonville. Indianapolis, bottom 5 pass defense. We're going to talk bottom 5 defenses, pass, run as we go. The Colts defense is also top 10 in man-to-man right now. There is no Sauce Gardner. No Sauce Gardner. What's interesting about this Colts defense, and we've talked about this the past few weeks, is they are worse against the run than they were at the start of the year. No DeForest Buckner, that's going to happen. But they're worse against the run than they were at the start of the year. And I thought teams would run the ball more frequently and more effectively. More effectively they did, but more frequently, not really. And now that they don't have Sauce Gardner in the secondary, I still think they attack the secondary. A guy I'm looking at is Jacoby Myers. I know Brian Thomas Jr. is back. I know Parker Washington's been the slot guy. I know Bretton Strange has made his impact. Indianapolis is allowing 164.2 wide receiver yards per game, 13.4 wide receiver receptions. But Jacoby Myers has the most man-to-man targets. Again, this is without Brian Thomas Jr., but most man-to-man targets since joining the Jacksonville Jaguars. He has a huge uptick in target rate against man-to-man. I'm looking at Jacoby Myers to have a bigger game here, especially considering there is no Sauce Gardner. Charvarius Ward may very well travel with Brian Thomas Jr. To me, that is the big edge for the Jaguars in the pass game. On the other side, the Jaguars are top 10 defensively in zone coverage rate. I know it's been a pain. I personally have Tyler Warren on my fantasy team. It's been a pain just to kind of watch the lack of volume with Warren the past few weeks, but his target rate almost doubles versus zone. And the Jaguars are allowing nearly 70 tight end yards per game and 7 full receptions per game to the position. And their run defense is very good. It forces teams to pass. It's the bottom line. The Jaguars are allowing the 5th most dropbacks, pass dropbacks in the NFL. So to me, this Colts offense, if they want to move the football, is going to have to throw the ball a little bit more than they usually have. Now, you can say a run defense is really good. Jonathan Taylor's had really good games against really good run defenses, but it's very interesting to note with Daniel Jones, his injury, that the offense holistically, I'll just say, is not the same. But I was listening to Stanford Steve actually talk about this. The misdirection in the run game, because Daniel Jones' mobility is a little bit more limited, is almost gone. So the run game, I still do think takes a little bit of hit. I think the Colts have to throw this ball to keep this game competitive. But to be honest with you guys, Jaguars, who are dogs at home, I think win this game. Washington versus Minnesota. Jaden Daniels is back. Very happy that Jaden Daniels is healthy. Minnesota runs the most middle field open in the NFL. That leans into Zach Ertz. They're not allowing a ton of production overall to the tight end position, but a big catch from Zach Ertz, a touchdown from Zach Ertz. Opportunities, I think, will be there. Washington is bottom 10 in wide receiver receiving yards per game and running back rush yards per game. Now, the target rates are targeted in the slot at top 3 rate. We know this. Jalen Naylor is a slot guy, though. I can't confidently lean into Jalen Naylor. I don't know about you, but this Washington defense, who plays a good amount of man, is going to provide a lot of one-on-one opportunities for these receivers. If they go with a true double with Justin Jefferson, I'm not convinced they will. I would be looking at Jalen Naylor or even Jordan Addison, but Jalen Naylor in the slot to step up. The backfield takeover is interesting, though. I want to go to the past couple games with the Minnesota Vikings backfield, because since Aaron Jones has come back, he hasn't been that bad. Like efficiency-wise, he hasn't been that bad. But Jordan Mason efficiency-wise, and again, this could totally be because he's the change of pace guy. Defenses aren't used to him. He's been really good. Like, he's been good efficiency-wise since Jones has come back. I look at last week, and you see 6 carries apiece. Aaron Jones got hurt. Like, I'm not leaning too heavily into that. But here in Green Bay, where it was a closer game and Jones wasn't getting a ton going on the ground. Actually, he was doing okay. I should take that back. But Mason stepped in and was more efficient. You go back to the Chicago game that was a little bit closer. Mason stepped in. He got the goal line work. I am interested to see, and I'm truly just looking for this, to see if Aaron Jones takes a step back to Jordan Mason in the run game this week, because he's banged up, right? He hurt his shoulder, and Jordan Mason is just playing better. I'm interested to look at that, and against a bottom 10 rush defense, but a bottom 5 pass defense, I think Minnesota can have some success on the ground. However, I am not picking against Jaden Daniels. This is the first time he's really had all of his weapons healthy since, week 2? We were looking, Jaden Daniels has played 2 full games with Terry McLaurin. I think Washington wins this game. Again, they're dogs on the road here against Minnesota. I think they win this game. Cincinnati versus Buffalo. Both teams are bottom 5 run defenses. The Bengals run defense allowing 153.3 rush yards per game, 5 yards per carry. James Cook, who had an exceptional game against a really, really good Steelers run defense, averaging more than 100 yards per game, more than 5 yards per carry. Bengals are also bottom 5 in rush attempts allowed, top 5 technically defensively, but they're allowing a ton of rush attempts. So teams will continue to pound the football on them, regardless if they're playing well against the run or not. To me, that makes me feel very confident in James Cook, but they're also a bottom 5 pass defense. And you combine those things. I know the Bengals have Joe Burrow back, and I'm happy for him, happy for T. Higgins, all these guys that they're back, but I don't think the Bills lose this game at home. I can't believe it. But the Bills' defense, it is worth noting, they're giving up third most rush yards per game, second most yards per carry, but the fewest pass yards per game allowed. That blows my mind because I don't think the secondary is wildly talented, but they do really, really well in the middle of the field. And truthfully, substance to this, I think their run defense is just that bad. The teams just want to run on them. So I think the Buffalo Bills win this game. I think it's a close game. I just can't pick against Josh Allen at home, especially against that defense. I think Buffalo finds some serious points of exploitation against Cincinnati. Miami versus the Jets. This is a really, really tough one. I really wanted to pick the Jets, but to me, Miami is a team of destiny where they are going to be sitting with an opportunity, if I'm not mistaken, next week when they play Pittsburgh, but when they play Pittsburgh to actually make a late season wildcard push, which is wild to me. I think Miami wins this game. 2 stats to note. Jets are top 5 man-to-man. Jalen Waddle by far the most explosive pass catcher against man. And the Dolphins are bottom 10 in tight end yards and reception. So I'm looking at Mason Taylor in the pass game. Not as much A.D. Mitchell. Miami is also a bottom 5 run defense. I like Breece Hall in this game. New Orleans versus Tampa Bay. No Mike Evans, no Jalen McMillan. New Orleans has been worse versus the run in the last 5 and better against the pass in the last 5. And you go look at the last time these two teams played, Baker Mayfield, I want to say, at 152 pass yards. He didn't crack 200. The Buccaneers were actually outgained by the Saints, but I still think Tampa wins this one at home. What was really, really fascinating to see last week was Bucky Irving. There was no easing in for Bucky Irving after not playing since week 4, right? Immediately came in, 17 carries, 2 catches, 19 touches compared to Rashad White's 5 and Sean Tucker's 2. There's no easing in for Bucky Irving. He's ready to go, and this matchup is really good. You look at the last few weeks against the Saints, teams are having success at the running back position against them, right? Devon Achane, 22 for 134. He got in the end zone. Combined across here for the Falcons, more than 100 yards, and Bijan had 37 yards receiving. Nothing really for Carolina here, but again, 1 touchdown. Kyren Williams, 25 for 114. Blake Corum had a ton of success on the ground. Against the run recently, they have struggled, which is really interesting to note. Both teams are also targeted out wide at a top 7 rate. So Emeka Egbuka there. Again, no Mike Evans, no Jalen McMillan. Godwin has stepped up and been the slot guy and let Egbuka be more of the out wide guy when he's been back. Chris Olave is another guy, but Devon Vele is another really interesting one who, again, has been utilized a little bit more. Number 1, since the departure of Brandon Cooks, but just number 2 since the trade deadline week 9. Rashid Shaheed has been gone, and all of a sudden Devon Vele had a 3-catch game 2 weeks ago and an 8-catch game, actually more than Olave, against Miami. So I'm really looking at him to step up. Tampa Bay also is a bottom 5 pass defense. I do think, again, Tampa wins this one at home, but definitely worth noting those 2 things. Denver versus Las Vegas. You go look at the last time these 2 teams played. It was ridiculous. What was the final score of that? It was a close game. I don't remember the final score. It was a low-scoring game. Again, Las Vegas is still really bad against receivers. 6th most wide receiver receptions, 10th most wide receiver yards allowed. Troy Franklin, the last time they played, had 9 targets. He had 5 catches for 40 yards, I believe, and a touchdown, but 9 targets. By far led the Broncos. He is dominating first read percentage now. Vegas is a very high first read percentage allowed secondary. I like Troy Franklin here. And on the other side, the leading wide receiver last game was Tyler Lockett. Now, it was against a defense that did not have Pat Surtain. I don't know what they're going to do in terms of the Surtain shadow with Bowers. Michael Mayer had an uptick last game. I'm kind of staying away, though. I'm staying away from Bowers just in general in this game. Again, I do think he can have a big game because he is Brock Bowers, but the numbers don't love him. And I know Vegas played Denver really tough the last time, but I think Denver almost – I don't want to say blows them out because every single time I look at Denver against a team that they should beat, like Washington, I'm like, this game's not going to be close. And it is close, but I think Denver takes care of business on the road. Chicago versus Green Bay, no Rome Odunze, which is huge to note. Green Bay is top 5 in zone coverage rate. They're top 10, not bottom 10. Top 10 in running back receptions allowed. So again, Kyle Monungai, DeAndre Swift. We talked about this last week with Thanksgiving. Your guess is as good as mine as to who gets the receiving production for the Chicago Bears. Go look at the past game logs, right? Like Monungai out received. Yeah, that's the right way to put it. Out received him 3 weeks ago, and then Swift had the last 2, and then Monungai had 3 catches when DeAndre Swift didn't even play. Like Swift has had more receiving production, but Monungai has been dominating the backfield, which is crazy to know. You go look at the snap counts, guys. It's been wild to see. Swift has, again, pretty much maintained the starting role, but Kyle Monungai, it was an almost even split last week. 2 weeks ago, he outsnapped Swift. Monungai is, I don't think, taking over the backfield because Swift is a good player. I've stood on that for a few years now. Like Swift is an underrated football player when he's healthy. Monungai is playing better than Swift right now, though. So I can't confidently lean into any of those running backs. In Green Bay with Vegas and who is the other team? Pittsburgh. Yes. Green Bay, Vegas, Pittsburgh. 3 run defenses that are holistically top 10 this year defensively. Last 5 weeks have actually been bottom 10, Bottom 10, not bottom 5. Bottom 10, which is really, really interesting to note. Green Bay has not been great against the run as of late. You go look at some of the game logs against Green Bay. Running backs have had success again recently against them. Gibbs, 68. You go look at the Vikings, nothing there. But Tyrone Tracy had 19 for 88. Singletary, 16 for 44. Teams are having moderate success on the ground against them. 130 yards from Rico Dowdle a few weeks ago. They haven't been great on the ground holistically as of late. They've been good all year long, and that number kind of averages out. I would watch for the Bears, who are running the ball really well, to try and take advantage, number one, of a struggling run defense, right? Wyatt's now on IR too. But number 2, to kind of take control of the game, not let Jordan Love air the ball out, really not let their run defense get exposed. It's a bottom 5 run defense, and teams have had a lot of success against Chicago running the football. That, to me, is the bane of their existence. Like, they can have a lot of success in just the NFC in general. Like, I know they're the number 1 seed right now. I don't know if they're the number 1 team in the NFC. They can have a lot of success in the NFC. They got to stop the run to do it, though. And teams like Saquon, the Eagles, kind of had to get away from the run as that game went on. But 13 for 56, not a great game. Gainwell and Warren each with 68 plus. Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason each with 45 plus. Like, the Bears' run defense has been better as of late, but it still has not been great holistically. And that worries me a little bit. I still think Green Bay at home, they're getting after the quarterback well, wins this game. Rams versus Cardinals. Arizona's allowing more than a full running back touchdown a game. I think the Rams are going to blow them out. I think Blake Corum, Kyron Williams gets in the end zone. Both teams are also top 5 in slot target rate allowed. It's Trey McBride for Arizona, but with Tutu Atwell unlikely to be activated before this game, Jordan Whittington is actually the main slot guy for the Rams. Production as of late for Jordan Whittington, I mean, if your name's not Devontae Adams or Puka Nacua, you can't really be trusted in the wide receiver room. Like, you didn't have a catch last week, but 3 catches against Tampa Bay. You go back, you had a catch against Seattle. If you're looking for a very sneaky play here to maybe get in the end zone or something like that, I would be looking for him. And then Houston versus Kansas City. Both these teams are targeted in the slot at a very high rate. I look at Khalil Shakir the last time Houston played on Thursday Night Football. To me, that's the blueprint for having any type of success offensively against Houston. Get the ball out quick, keep it between the hashes. But that defense is good, and they're going to get after Mahomes. Juju, Kelsey, and Rashee Rice are the slot guys. I have Kelsey starred here because the Texans have just been really good against tight ends holistically. Kansas City, top 10 in slot target rate allowed. You're looking at Christian Kirk. You're looking at Jalen Noel. I also like Nico Collins. As of late, the Chiefs have not been great against wide receivers, but I think all of America is on Houston here. I think all of America looks at, 3.5-point dogs, and they're like, why is Houston dogs here? We got to get on them, blah, blah. And yes, they can absolutely win the game. The defense is on fire. This reminds me of a game about a month ago where we said the exact same thing about the Lions when they walked into Kansas City and they got blown out. So I still think Kansas City wins this game. I don't love it. It's an ugly thing to think, ugly thing to say, but I do think Kansas City wins this game. I appreciate you guys watching and listening. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you're new. God bless you guys.